green light off for war with Iran. Ray McGovern straight ahead.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
You can bet your life on eFoods Direct. Alex has told you about the amazing, great-tasting, long-term storable food from eFoods Direct and how a food savings account is your best insurance against natural disasters, job loss, and high food costs. But did you know that this dehydrated food also protects you against foodborne contaminants like E. coli and salmonella? Those poisonous critters can't live in low-moisture food from eFoods Direct. Ask for the Alex Fall Special. The Fall Special is a 24-day supply of food in a convenient portable container. A $259 value for only $199. Save $60 on 160 servings of the best food on the planet. Call 800-409-5633 and ask for the Alex Fall Special and go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Call 24 hours, 800-409-5633 or efoodsdirect.com/Alex. You can bet your life on eFoods Direct.
Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As we're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
They have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today, it seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at PrisonPlanet.tv. Hi, folks. This is Alex Jones. I'm looking for people that have the wisdom to spot savings, opportunity, and recognize risk. Saving means to make money. The Cal Ben Pure Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated and twice as good as what you're using now. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils that contain no useless dyes, perfumes, deodorants, or antibacterials. Your risk is the hundreds of hazardous toxic detergents that give you rashes, itching sores, and deteriorating clothing called lint. If you want something better, if you want something you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done before. Getting a free catalog is easy by calling 800-340-7091 or see Calvin on the web at 5starsoap.com. Take charge of your health now by calling 800-340-7091 or see Calvin on the web at 5starsoap.com.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe. Our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value. I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
All right.
I want you to get up right now. Get up.
I want you to get up and let the establishment know you're not putting up with what's happening. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we're joined by Ray McGovern, former top CIA analyst of Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush, their morning briefer. Of course, there's a lot of context inside intelligence to this day. Now, we've also had Steve Pachinik call me yesterday and say, yes, his sources have told him that Israel is planning to strike. I also have family in the military who've been shipped to Kuwait, and they're not talking. I called some other military sources. One of them got upset and said, don't call me about this, Alex. I'm not talking to you. And how do you know this stuff? Well, it's pretty obvious now. Congressman King has labeled Iran terror plot act of war, says Obama should have troops on standby. Of course, Panetta came back 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, and said, I guess 11 days ago to be technical, the head of the Pentagon, Secretary of Defense, and said, well, Israel's on their own now. They're isolated. They've given them the bunker busters, the cluster bombs. This, Ray McGovern was on a week and a half ago, and he said, this is the closest we've been to a hit on Iran. And now you've got Bob Baer, the former Black Op field commander, coming out saying it's phony. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer talked to high-level FBI. They say it's totally made up. There is nothing in the system on it. You've got former Bush administration officials. We've got articles on Infowars.com about this. The top expert on the Persians saying this is totally fake. It turns out we've got the affidavit now. The informant set all this up. The guy was trying to make a drug deal. The car dealer reportedly not involved in anything. An alcoholic pothead. And now they're saying more plots are coming out. This is a way to cover up Fast and Furious as well. A perfect storm. It looks like Israeli AIPAC elements, from my sources, are basically blackmailing Obama. This is kind of what McGovern said. He said they're going to politically destroy him if he doesn't go ahead with this. And they're off, and the neocons are pressuring, saying this is how you get reelected. We'll get behind you. So the big usual Republican suspects are behind it. You got that perfect storm: neocons, Republicans, Israel folks, some of the defense manufacturers, not the actual Defense Department, but the entire Defense Department, from my sources that are pretty high level, public and not public, say that the Pentagon, just like Fox Fallon 4.5 years ago said no, is saying do not do this. And another person telling us do not do this is Ray McGovern. So, Ray, thank you for joining us. I wanted to give some background, but my intel is 100% they've green-lighted it. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they are testing the trial balloons. If this con job sells, they're planning to hit Iran sooner rather than later. What is your intel, Ray McGovern?
Well, Alex, glad to be back with you here. I guess I would start by saying that this cockamamie plot does not pass the smell test. I was amused, if you can be amused by such things, by Hillary Clinton saying, you know, you couldn't make this stuff up. Well, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And they did. And it was just yesterday that the information came out from David Ignatius, who has a column in the Washington Post. He's so close to CIA operatives that he pretty much acts as their surrogate spokesman. And what he let out of the bag was the fact that, as he put it, Justice and White House officials were pretty skeptical. You know, they considered this pretty flimsy until CIA to the rescue. General Petraeus was able to gather information from inside Iran, mind you, that was so confirmatory that it lent credence to this, and the implausible all of a sudden became plausible. Well, give me a break. If you look closely at this, used car salesman, Mexican drug cartel plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to Washington, it not only doesn't pass the smell test, it doesn't pass the comic book test. It would never sell in Hollywood because it's just too far-fetched.
Now, why, sir? Because in my experience, which is limited compared to yours, I've never seen, though, so many known Pentagon spokespeople like Pachinik, Schaefer, this top Bush administration expert who's come out. I mean, Robert Baer. There's so many of them. I've never seen such a chorus. Even the New York Times said this doesn't pass the smell test. Why is such a large segment of the establishment and the Pentagon saying this is total fraud?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth in citing the New York Times. Now, the New York Times has never, ever, ever been skeptical about what any administration spokesperson has said about Iran. Iran is black. Iran is the devil incarnate. So for the New York Times to be casting doubt on these reports is really a new step forward for them. I mean, it shows, to me at least, that for once some adult at the New York Times said, hey, wait a second, let's not get on board this one. After our experience with Iraq, this just smells even worse. Now, I just mentioned our experience with Iraq. Now, that was when we veteran intelligence professionals decided to form our little group for sanity, because we could see that not only the operatives on the other side of the house, but the analysts themselves were being prostituted, were being corrupted, were being forced to tell a story that was not true. Now, take the story about Saddam Hussein's alleged ties with al-Qaeda, okay? Nobody believed that. They were at loggerheads between the two of them, but evidence was procured. Now, it didn't suffice to have Doug Feith and Donald Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz's guys in the Pentagon to come up with this faux intelligence. No. They needed something better. And what most people don't realize is that the first big reason for the torture, okay, for the torture of all those folks down in Gitmo and at Abu Ghraib was to get somebody to, quote, admit, end quote, that al-Qaeda was being trained, being run by Saddam Hussein. And that's why al-Libi, the Libyan terrorist who was apprehended and knew nothing more than how to, arrange flights into the training camps of al-Qaeda, why he was sent to Egypt, and the Egyptians got him to, quote, confess, end quote, that there were indeed ties between Hussein and al-Qaeda, and that the Iraqis were training the al-Qaeda people in the use of chemical and other weapons of mass destruction.
And of course, sir, it turned out that all wasn't true. And KSM also confessed to bombing buildings that weren't built until after he'd been in custody for many years of waterboarding. But what does it signify, though? Is this good news that so many even establishment insiders have come out saying this is a lie? Because in the past, they would go along, as you said, with any lie. Does this show that maybe certain elements tried to greenlight it, and now they're saying, don't worry, we've got more Iranian plots, and now we've got Congressman King saying active war, get the troops ready? Because the info I've got, and I've got family in logistics, they didn't tell me, I know they've been sent over there, but I know other military sources, they've been told, yeah, get ready to back up the Israelis during an Iranian response, get ready to drag stuff out of the Strait of Hormuz, all the things you've talked about here for years. You predicted, you said, if I was Cheney, knowing him, he'll probably try to attack our destroyers around the Strait of Hormuz. Then it came out, he did propose painting up U.S. boats like blue patrol boats. So you've been able to really look into their mind. For me, it's positive to see people rejecting this pretty much across the board, but it doesn't matter. The pro-war people, it looks like, are just going ahead with it. What is your intel? I mean, A, what does it signify to have folks not buying it? B, are we on the razor's edge? You said a week and a half ago they were moving towards green light. Where is it right now?
Well, those are good questions, Alex, and I would say there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is the evidence that you adduce, that everybody and his brother and sister who knows anything about Iran thinks that this is a cockamamie plot, okay, invented. That's the good news, and people are speaking out, as you say, even the New York Times. Now, the bad news is that the president himself, I mean, it's bad enough that the Secretary of State, who famously called for obliterating Iran. It's bad enough that Hillary Clinton and that cat's paw Eric Holder, who is supposed to be our chief law enforcement official, the Attorney General, bad enough that they come out and they make these allegations. But Barack Obama is now on record as saying there has to be accountability. And he always tries to have it both ways. I don't know if you recognize that, but when he get up there, he says, yes, everything's on the table, but now we're trying to work out the really